This time on Jenny's Way, we present Karaleigh Garrison. She is a keynote speaker, creative business coach, singer, and a songwriter. Known as a multi-passionate mama, she helps passionate entrepreneurs use all of their skills in one fulfilling, successful business. Karaleigh believes we serve clients better and lead happier lives when we allow our whole selves to come to the table. So get comfy and let's get into this with Karaleigh.
I want to welcome to Jenny's Way one of my best friends for sure, Karaleigh Garrison. Our journey started about 6 months ago. We met and that was amazing. I loved every minute of our interaction. What a treat to have Karaleigh Garrison on our show. Multi-passionate entrepreneur. She have not just one, two podcasts. Well, she's been around with Seeking Sunshine podcast for a while. And guess what she started recently? Podcast Like a Mother. Yay. Multi-passionate entrepreneur, mother, musician, speaker, coach, and many more other skills that she have. No other than Karaleigh Garrison. Welcome to Jenny's Way. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, my thing fell off.
Uh-oh.
Haha. Hold on. The real life happening here on Jenny's Way. All right. It's not fun. Show up messy. That's one of the things that Karaleigh Garrison will tell you all about it. Show up messy. Okay. My microphone fell off. We don't care. We just keep on rolling. That's fun. Why not? It's live. We'll tell you all about that. Life happens. You still have to go on. Here we go. Back to Karaleigh.
Well, I'm excited to be here, and Jenny is amazing, and I'm excited to talk about whatever she throws my way because she is an amazing interviewer.
Oh, God. I am on the spot now. Well, Karaleigh Garrison, tell me, how do you keep that resilience? I mean, your determination is off the scale. No matter it comes your way, you just figure it out. How do you do that? What's your secret sauce there?
It's really just about continuing to put one foot in front of the other. It's one of my favorite things to say is that it's not that you don't crumble when things get hard, because I have a lot of moments where I break down and I cry and I'm like, I can't do this. This is the end of the world. Like, I'm not going to be able to do, live my dreams or do the thing that I want to do. And then the next day I just get up and keep going. And I have this crystal clear vision of, the thing that I want and like my dreams and the thing that I just know I was made for. And you just keep walking in that direction. Just keep getting back up again.
Amazing. Yeah, I know we all have bad days, but what keeps coming up for me, no matter who I talk to, people think that it's only their issues. They are the only one that have issues. They are the only one have bad days, bad weeks, bad months. But you guys, that's not correct. I just had a bad 6 weeks.
Yeah, you did.
And here I am. And it's like I had to hide away from the camera. I'm like, because I felt insecure that I don't look good. But it's not about how you look, it's what you feel inside. It's your drive, it's your passion, it's your determination, it's your resilience. And knowing that clarity, having the clarity of the vision, it is so interesting. I just got off the interview with one of the other amazing guests. He just wrote a book about marketing, but that's not here or there. What the biggest thing was, he said clear vision. And here we are starting second interview today. And Karaleigh Davidson just told you, Garrison told you, clear vision. Yep. If you have a vision, one step up the time, and you just gonna get there.
Yeah, and one thing I would love to add is that we have this idea in our heads that when we rest, when we take time to especially if we're burnt out or something happens and we have to stop and take a break, that means that we're not progressing. But actually, that time out, that time to renew is part of your progression. It's really essential, because if you hadn't taken that time out to heal and to renew, you wouldn't be able to be back here doing your show again. We need that time. It's essential.
And oh my God, this is almost too interesting or funny, however you want to say. It's the same patterns that are coming up in our conversation. You have to fill your cup. If you don't fill your cup, you're going to be no good for anybody else around you.
Yes.
Your friends, your family, your clients, your co-workers, whatever the case might be. You have to love yourself. It's not being selfish, spending time on you so you can be the better version of you, so you can love all other people around you, so you can bring in energy, as Carly saying, your sunshine. You shine that light on yourself and everybody else around you. And that's what Carly does for us, for every one of them. Every one of us. We met, and her impact is already so powerful on all of us, all of the friends. She touched everybody's life. And that's what I love about Karaleigh Garrison. And I want to make sure that people, when they listen to our podcast, they feel the energy, because we're there here to empower and to let you know and inspire you. There is that better version of you. What you were yesterday, it's okay. Give yourself grace. Be grateful for who you are now and who you were yesterday. What matters is every day you're better than you were yesterday and the day before and the day before. I think one of the other biggest themes for me is like, you don't compare yourself with other people, because you are you. You're unique. What are your thoughts on being unique, and how do you bring uniqueness into your business, into your story, and let people know who you are as a person?
Yeah. You're asking me how I bring the uniqueness
Yeah.
in? Well, first of all, every single person is unique. Like, we all are born with our own unique flavor of existence, like just off the bat. And it's when you stop trying to be like everybody else and you just let that essence of you shine through, that everyone they'll be able to see it. They'll be able to see who you are. So we all have our own unique passions and desires. And when you start leaning into the things that light you up and the things that you're drawn to, that's when the people also love those things will start being drawn to you.
That's so great. If you just listen to the word that Carly just said, it's just amazing. It gives that high vibe or the energy, being who you are, being true to who you are. And one of the other things we talked about all the time, showing up messy. People really care about your true essence. What's inside? What are your values? What do you stand for? Not how you look. Okay, you want to look the best way, because Kylie like makeup. That's her thing. Not the same for everybody, but she look beautiful with or without, but that's what she loves.
Well, and what's really interesting about, we live in this world where everybody around you is telling you who to be. Everyone, you get told from the time when you're really little, like, here's how you're supposed to dress in order to appear appropriate. Here's how you're supposed to wear your makeup. Here's how you're supposed to wear your hair. Here's where you're supposed to go to school. You're supposed to go, I don't know, be a doctor. You're supposed to be a lawyer. You're supposed to make money. You're supposed to do this and this and this and this and this. And you've got parents who are like, no, this is what you're supposed to do in order to be a successful human. And then we spend so much of our lives trying to understand, wait a minute, none of those things are making me happy, because none of those things are who I actually am. And we try to unravel all that conditioning to figure out where we actually belong and who our true essence really is. And what's fascinating for me is I've got 3 kids that have special needs. And so I watch them, and they are just not taking the conditioning. They just refuse to be told who to be. And it's incredible.
It's not something
amazing. I have a severely autistic 12-year-old, and he wears whatever he wants. He will wear clothes that are covered in paint. If he wants to wear a full tuxedo to school for a whole year, he will. If he wants to wear a baseball cap to church every single day of his life, because he will, or cowboy boots every single day, he will, because he does whatever he wants to. And good luck trying to get him to be anything else than who he wants to be. He is so fully himself. It is so beautiful to see him.
That's a good example of how not to conform. Be who you are.
Yep.
Yeah. What inspired you to start your podcast initially? And what a beautiful name, Seeking Sunshine. How did you came up with that?
So it all really stems from the life that I had lived and have lived. I have 3 kids with special needs, and then in addition to that, my husband actually has been disabled for the last decade. So over the course of, we've now been married for 15 years. Over the course of that time, our lives it's been a roller coaster. We've had a lot of really crazy ups and downs. And one thing that I had learned through all of it is to always look for the good, to always look for the beauty, because we're surrounded by difficulty. There's always going to be something hard standing in the way, because that's just life. But if you can keep your eye on the sunshine, if you can keep looking for it and trying to find it, you will. And so that was kind of how the name of my podcast came about. And it's also the name actually of my album and my single from that album, and they all sort of came about at the same time.
I was wondering, were you looking for sunshine when you decided to have the name? Is that what it was? She was looking for sunshine and she found it. You got to look for something that you really want.
Mm-hmm.
Hint, take notes. Look for something that you want. Karaleigh was looking for sunshine. Guess what? She found the sunshine.
Well, and you'll find what you're looking for. Whatever you have your sights set on, that's what you're going to find. So if you are insistent that life sucks, guess what? That's what you're going to find more of in your experience. If you're insistent that life is beautiful, you're going to see more roses. You're going to see more sunshine and more waterfalls and more things to be grateful for. You're going to find more of what you look for.
As a multi-passionate entrepreneur, what did you learn over the years that make you who you are today? And how has your failures, which not really failures, help you to succeed now, years later?
Can I tell you a story about this?
Yes, of course. We love stories.
It's a great story, but it's a big life-changing kind of story. And it starts in 2018 when my husband was at the peak of his disability. So my husband has something called familial episodic ataxia. And that meant that he was collapsing every time that he got overstressed. So that could be physical stress or it could be emotional stress. He couldn't vacuum without collapsing. He couldn't watch our kids because they were really stressful. He couldn't do the dishes. He would start trembling and stuttering in his speech, and he would collapse and he couldn't hold himself up anymore. And I'd have to carry him to bed. And he's a lot bigger than I am, so that was kind of a big deal. And he also has severe debilitating PTSD and anxiety and depression. And he was walking with a cane all the time. And he was only like 32 years old at this time.
Wow.
And he really was struggling a lot. And at the time, our kids were 4, 7, and 8. And we lived in San Antonio, Texas, in the U.S. And our lives were really difficult. We had two of our kids were in school and doing their thing, and they were in therapy all the time, hours and hours and hours a day after school. And we were really struggling to get by. And we had this impression that we're very religious and very spiritual, and we just had this really, really strong impression that we needed to move back to Utah, which is several states away, and go back to college and finish our degrees. And I was like, no thanks, God. I don't want to do that. We lived right next to our in-laws, well, to my in-laws, to my husband's parents, and they were watching our kids several times a week so that I could take my husband to the hospital because he was constantly collapsing. He had really severe asthma. He had chronic bronchitis. Like he had all these things going on. Like we really heavily relied on them. And I was like, I don't want to move away from our support system. We had all the therapies. We had all the schools. We had no money. I was like, we can't afford to move. We can't leave our support system. Like, no, thanks, God. I'm going to pass on that inspiration. Thanks. But then it kept coming. Like it just wouldn't let go. This inspirational thought. And so a few months went by and we finally, after years and years of applying, got approved for SSI, which is disability income for my husband. And just like that, we suddenly had the money because we got some back pay. We suddenly had the money to be able to move. And I was like, oh, you made it possible. You made it possible.
Isn't that something?
You made it possible. And I finally was like, okay, I know we're supposed to move. I can't deny it. I can't deny it anymore. And I was praying about this whole situation. Like, is this really a thing? Are we really going to do this? And I was praying, are we going to be okay? I know we're supposed to move and go back to school and finish our degrees and do this whole thing, but are we going to be okay? And I got this really crystal clear answer of, it's not just going to be okay, it's going to be amazing. And then what followed was the worst year of our lives.
Oh, no.
We moved and we did everything we were supposed to, and we had really rough times, like trying to find a place to live in and all these things. But then we had this life-changing experience. We moved over the summer, and about a month later in October, the very, very beginning of October, we had this experience with our son Joshua. So our youngest was 4, Joshua was 7, and our oldest, Aurora, was 8. And Joshua, severely autistic, 7 years old, and completely and utterly nonverbal. And this is my wild child. This is my kid who I had to have a lock on the front door because he would run out the front door and open our neighbor's car while they were backing out of their driveway. We'd pull into a parking lot, and before I could unbuckle my seatbelt, he would be out of his 5-point harness and out the front door of the car, booking it across the parking lot. Like, this was my kid who I could not take my eye off for a single second because he would not be safe. Like, it was nonstop. It took every ounce of energy from me to keep him safe. And he was completely and utterly nonverbal. He didn't have a single that meant anything. And about the end of August, I had what I call my Facebook meltdown, where I went on Facebook Live and I just sobbed because we had just lost all of our therapy. We went from 4 hours of therapy a day to nothing because now we were on a year-long wait list to get the kids back into therapy because we had moved. And I was like, I can't take it anymore. I can't keep hoping and praying that he's ever going to talk. I give up. I give up on Joshua ever saying, Mom, or I love you. And I can't keep watching my 4-year-old pray that his brother's going to be able to talk one day. I can't keep doing this. I give up. And it was this crazy moment of surrender. And it was only a week later. And it's seared into my mind, this moment where it was the first Saturday of October and he walked out of his room that morning and he looked completely different. He was so sick. He looked like death. He looked like he had lost a whole bunch of weight overnight. You could see his ribs and this thigh gap. And I was like, what happened? Have I been so wrapped up in going back to college full time and moving that I just didn't notice that he lost all this weight? And I took a picture of him and I sent it to his teacher at school. And I was like, did he look like this yesterday? And she's going, no, what happened? And I had this moment where my brain like split in half, and half of it was like, oh my gosh, he's dying. What's going on? Like, this is the end of the world. And the other half was like, it's fine. He's just sick. Kids get sick. He'll be okay. And he walked, didn't run, didn't bounce off the walls, didn't run out the front door to go open someone's car, walked slowly to the living room and curled up in a ball and just stayed. He was so sick. And that was on a Saturday. And by Monday, he was still curled up in a ball. And I was like, okay, it's time to go to the doctor. He's not getting any better. And I took him to the pediatrician and I had to carry him into her office because he was so weak he couldn't walk in on his own. And she barely looked at him. She was like, oh, it's just a stomach bug. There's nothing to do. It's just a stomach bug. And I was like, no, I don't think so. Like, I've got 3 kids. This is not my first rodeo. Like, I've been here before. This is not something I've seen before. Like, please do something. And she was like, yeah, but I guess we could do blood work. But he's got autism, and it's really hard to get blood from a kid with autism. So, like, just come back. If he's still this sick in a few days, like, then I guess we could try to do blood work. So she sent us home with nothing. And at this time, like, my husband and I were both full-time college students with 3 kids at 3 different schools. And so we were juggling who was missing school and who was staying home with the sick kid. And so a couple days later, I was in class and my husband was home and he texted me a picture of Joshua. And he was drastically worse. Like, his skin was starting to turn gray and his eyes were sinking in. And I took one look at that picture and I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done watching my kid die in front of my eyes. And I left in the middle of my class and I took him to the ER and I carried him in to the ER, and they took one look at him and they knew immediately what was wrong with him. And they were like, we got to get blood from that kid right now. And even though he was so weak that I had to carry him in there, it took a full team of 5 grown men and me holding him down to get one little drop of blood from his finger. But one drop of blood was all it took. And it was confirmed that he was in diabetic ketoacidosis and he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And they transferred us to a different hospital, and he was admitted for the next 3 days. And we got to the other hospital, and I was like, you guys don't understand who this kid is and what he's capable of. He's going to change the language on all your computers. He's going to burn this place to the ground. Like, you don't know. As soon as you give him that medicine, he's going to come back to life. And they were really amazing. And they had a nurse just sit at the door all night long just to make sure that I could sleep and that Joshua didn't run away and destroy the hospital.
Yeah.
They were amazing. And then the next day, I got to go to hours and hours of parent training where I would learn all about how to count the carbs of every bite of food Joshua puts in his mouth for the rest of his life and how to dose him with insulin for all of those carbs. Which, you know, it's like, how many carbs are in a handful of Cheerios? Who knows? That's not really something you can count. But I left parent training and I got to go like shower, and I had my moment out with God where I was like, hello, what part of, okay, do you think this fits into? Because I'm not really seeing how this is okay or amazing. Like, I don't really see how this fits. Like, this doesn't work for me. And the thing is that's the part, that's the moment that I go back to every day, like all the time in my life right now, because I frequently have times in my life where it seems like the world is crashing down on me and I can't see what's next. And I see everything with blinders on. Like everything is awful and nothing's going to work out. And because I know what happens next in Joshua's story, I can look back and I remember that there's another chapter. And miracles happen even when things look like they are at the very worst possible circumstances. There are amazing things ahead, even when I can't possibly see how they could happen. I just have to wait and be patient, and those miracles are coming. So we went home from the hospital. We were admitted on Friday, and he went home. Sorry, we were admitted Wednesday. He went home Friday. And Monday, he went back to school, and he pooped in the potty for the first time in his life. He was 7.
Oh, wow.
And we'd been trying to potty train him for like 4 years, and we couldn't get him to poop in the potty. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
And then he started talking later?
And within a month of being diagnosed, he could say all of his colors. He started eating, and it was amazing how like the things all played out. He started going to the bathroom regularly. He started eating regularly. He'd been underweight for most of his life. And it was all these different pieces that like he'd been struggling with his whole life. Like we'd had him on medication because he was underweight, that we couldn't get his weight up. And then he started eating, and then his language, like he had no language skills. Like we couldn't even get him to imitate anything. And then from that moment on, his language skills skyrocketed. We'd had no progress after like 5 years of really intensive speech therapy. And then from then on, it just skyrocketed. And then within a year, I was begging him to shut up because he kept talking all the time. And now here we are 5 years later, and he just kind of yells at me and talks all day long. And it's like, oh, we need a break because he just never stops talking. And then what's amazing was that like right after that, so I've always wanted to be a singer. And right after that in December, I auditioned for the School of Music. And I was like, this is it. This is my opportunity for my dreams to come true. And I'm finally going to get to do the thing I've always wanted to do. So I auditioned for the School of Music for opera and in college at BYU. And I got through the first round of auditions, and I got through the second round of auditions. And then in like February or March, I finally found out that I was not accepted.
Oh.
And, you know, they only let a handful of people in, and they actually emailed me and they were like, please don't give up. Please keep going. Audition for this school and this school and this school. But I didn't even respond to their email because I was in another one of those blinders on moments where I was like, the world has ended. I can't see any possible way that this could be a miracle. This is the end. And I was very devastated for a really, really long time. But I was watching Joshua gain a new word like every day. I was watching this miracle unfold before my eyes, and it really changed my whole perspective of what was possible for me, because I had been going, okay, Joshua plus therapy equals Joshua talks, and it didn't work out that way. And then I was going, Karaleigh plus the School of Music equals Karaleigh gets to sing, right? But it didn't work out that way. And I was like, well, maybe God has another plan for me. Maybe there's some other way that this gets to work. And then I started having these realizations like, oh, wait a minute. I don't actually like opera that much. I actually only started studying opera because that one person that one time back in high school told me I was fat. And then I was like, well, the fat lady sings opera, so I must sing opera, right? Like, oh, that's the only reason I even like started on this path. Oh. And then I had these other realizations of like, if I got this thing I wanted my entire life, if I got to be the star of the show, I'd be at rehearsals or performing on stage like every night. I'd be gone from my kids like every night. That's not what I want. That's not my dream. I don't want to just like be gone. I want to be mom and be all of me as a performer. I don't want to have to leave I don't want to have to leave half of me behind to be the best of me. And also, if I got to be the star of the show, which is what I've been dreaming of forever, hold up. Somebody else would get to like pick what I sang and pick where I stood and pick what clothes I wore and like pick my costumes and pick my makeup and do my hair and like choose every single aspect and like totally control me. I would hate that. Wait, that's the thing I've been dreaming of for like 20 years? Did I even think my dream through at all? This is what I've been dreaming of. And it was like, oh, there was a little bit of there was a miracle in type 1 diabetes. Maybe there was a little bit of a miracle in this devastating thing of me not getting into the School of Music. Maybe there was something beautiful in that. And so I pivoted and I decided to take a songwriting course. And I hadn't written my own music since I was in like middle school and high school. And it was like coming home. It was like, oh yeah, this is where I belonged all along. And from there, I learned how to produce my own music. And I finally stopped looking for somebody else's permission to sing. I stopped looking for somebody else to be like, you're good enough to be on my stage. Please come be, this amazing singer. And I finally decided that I was already good enough to sing. I was already amazing just as I was. And so I started writing and producing my album called Seeking Sunshine. And I started my podcast called Seeking Sunshine so that I could tell people about my crazy life and about how if you look for the miracles, you will find them. And now I teach podcasting so that other people can tell their stories, because telling your story is one of the most powerful things you can do.
Yeah, what a powerful lessons you learn. So that tells you that people don't know what biggest strategy may be one of the miracles. It's like we automatically assume that something is seriously wrong, but is it? Maybe there's something you needed to see, something you needed to realize, and then something new will be born.
Yeah. Well, and then what's more is that actually my husband's health drastically improved too. Like he went back to college himself and started walking with his cane across this college campus, and he couldn't even get to his classes on time. He went from taking 12 different prescription medications to getting off of all of them. He now jogs for fun, doesn't use a cane anymore, and he's had this really amazing, like, total transformation in his health too. It's actually has been amazing to see what has occurred for our family over the last 5 years.
That's amazing. What did trigger his health improvement?
He has done all sorts of stuff. He has done yoga and Tai Chi, and he's done a lot of walking and a lot of spiritual work and all sorts of things. I think a big part of it too was moving, because in San Antonio, there's a lot of pollen, there's a lot of wet, just like moisture in the air. And so like when we moved, he stopped having chronic bronchitis and asthma, and like not having those illnesses constantly in his system, like that helped a ton.
So what are the characteristic or personality trait you think will make a business people to succeed? What are those things? I know resilience and determination. What other things?
I'd say creativity, which is like problem solving. Like if you come across a roadblock, which I guarantee you is going to happen, like something's going to come and get in your way and tell you can't do it, find a way. Find a way around your roadblock, and that like it'll be creative. Like you're going to have to keep looking until you find some way. And that's going to require resilience. It's going to require persistence. It's going to probably require a lot of stubbornness and, vision to be like, I know that there's a way to make this work. I know that there is. But every successful company, every successful business that you see, they've done all of those things. They've had that core belief that it can work and that it was supposed to work, and kept going and finding solutions to their problems.
Mm. Finding the solution. There's always more than one solution. You just have to keep investigating and figure out which one is that particular solution at that particular time.
Yep.
Speaking of that particular time, can you tell me about the time when you had no idea what you're doing? Maybe when you started podcasting or any other your entrepreneurial businesses that you have started, but you figured it out. How'd you do that?
Oh, there have been most of the times in my life when I had no idea what I was doing and I just figured it out. So very many times. I just launched my course, which is the Podcast Like a Mother podcast creation course, and I decided to make the entire course from my cell phone. And so, I mean, I had some ideas of what I was doing in terms of like, I don't know, we never come from nothing, right? We are human beings with a whole lifetime of history. So we're always drawing on some kind of knowledge. And then we come into those roadblocks where it's like, oh, here's an area in which I don't know. And we can choose one of two paths. We can either go learn from somebody who's done it before, or we can keep going until we figure out the answer ourselves. And I've done both of those things. I tend to frequently just try to figure it out myself. And then you just keep trying different options until it works. And a lot of times when you try to do it yourself, it just takes more time because you're testing and failing and testing and failing and testing and failing. And then the only true failure is when you stop testing, when you stop trying and you just keep down and you don't get back up again. But one of the roadblocks that I ran into when I was creating my entire course from my cell phone is that I ran out of storage on my phone. And I was trying to figure out, like, how do I get more storage on my phone? And part of the problem was that I was trying to, so you create the videos, you film your videos, and then you edit your videos, and then you upload them onto the platform. Well, I should have gone to the platform to find out how big of a size of video that they needed first. I didn't do that. So I was creating these massively large videos for the entirety of the course. And then I found out that the site couldn't even hold that big of video. So it was entirely unnecessary that I'd put that much work into, because it would take 30 or 45 minutes to buffer and like for each video. And then my phone could only hold one at a time. So then I was waiting for the whole thing to buffer. And then I was waiting for the whole thing to upload on my Google Drive. And then I was saving it on my computer. And then I was erasing it from my phone and then doing it all over for each video. But what happens then is you then have the experiential knowledge of how to do it better next time. And then you can teach somebody else. And so learning by experience gives you this level of wisdom that you wouldn't have if you just learned it from somebody else. So while it might seem like it's definitely wiser to just learn it from somebody else, like there's something about embodying that trying and trying again and failing and trying again that just teaches you how to be resilient in a way that nothing else will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we didn't start our podcasting, you and I, we wouldn't be here talking with each other. We would have never met. And, now the rest is history.
Yeah.
We're doing what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's like I teach podcasting because I've made a lot of mistakes in podcasting. Like when I first started my podcast, I was over editing. I was not planning ahead. I was doing a lot of the mistakes that I'm teaching people now how to not make because I have that experience of exactly what it's like to make those mistakes.
What are the top 3 mistakes that people do from the beginning?
From their podcasting, well, they over edit. That is the number one thing. Is I'm really, really passionate about letting yourself show up imperfectly human as you are, especially because this was something I did right from the start. I thought that when you created your podcast, you had to go in and cut out every breath, every imperfection. And the truth is that when people are listening to a podcast, they want to hear you as if you were a friend talking to them over the phone. That includes all your all your pauses, all your breaths, all your imperfections. And then the more that you speak and the longer you podcast, the better you're going to get. But you have to allow yourself to be a beginner at the start. And you're never going to get past that beginner phase if you burn out because you're spending 4 hours a week over editing your podcast. And I burnt out. That was the truth, was that I over edited my podcast. I spent way too much time cutting all those ands and ums and breaths and pauses out. And then I burnt out. And the truth is that when I go back and listen to those episodes, they don't sound good. It's not like they sound better because I was over editing them. They sound terrible. They just sound like one big run-on sentence. Like they don't sound better because of the amount of work I was putting in. So that's the number one thing I see. Number two, planning ahead. And honestly, I still struggle with this one, especially with my second podcast, which is Podcast Like a Mother. I'm much better at it with Seeking Sunshine. But that would be like declaring what your show's going to look like in advance and then having a game plan of like, here's, the style of episodes I want to have, like guest versus solo episodes. I'm going to have this many a month. I'm going to have so many a week. And then having it planned out like a month or two in advance, but not more than a month or two in advance. Because one of the things that I did at the beginning was that I interviewed like 30 people in January of 2022, which was enough people for the entire year of 2022, which meant that I was airing episodes 9 months after I had recorded them, which meant that I was not the same person 9 months later than I was when I recorded them, and they were no longer in alignment with what my show was, and it was a shame, and I ended up not airing them all because they just weren't relevant anymore. I actually had rebranded my show by that point, and they just didn't work anymore for the direction I was moving with my show. And then you wanted 3.
Yeah.
Top 3 mistakes. Letting it be easy. I would say that's one of the best questions you can ask yourself about literally everything in your life is how can you let it be easy? How can you let...
Yeah, that's, it's just so crazy. The interview that I had right before you, that's exactly what we're talking about. How can it be easy? How can we make it easy?
Yeah, it's...
Don't overcomplicate it.
You are choosing to make so many things in your life more complicated than they have to be. Like, you really are. And you really have to consider, like, where you are at stress-wise and emotionally wise and, like, how close are you to burnout? Because burnout is not, like, a single point. It's a spectrum. How close are you to that on that spectrum? Where are you on the burnout spectrum at every given moment? And are you allowing your life to be easier and get yourself further away from burnout? Or are you pushing yourself closer and closer and closer? And so like one thing that happened, like just yesterday, I was like, I've been putting off getting guests for my podcast over the summer because, again, I've got 3 wild kiddos and I try to not record podcast episodes with guests over the summer because my kids like to yell and scream a lot. And it's just, I try to get them all recorded before summer so that I don't have to worry about that when my kids are out of school. And I was like, I've been putting off this thing because life's been crazy and reaching out to like that many people, because it's like 15 people, like reaching out, I have a whole list and I'm like reaching out to that many people feels really draining. And it just was feeling really like it gave me this sluggish feeling in my body. And you have to really pay attention to like how the things that are on your to-do list, how are they making you feel in your body? And it was making me feel like, I don't want to do this. So that's why I had kept putting it off. I was like, I have all these amazing people that I want to ask, but I'm not wanting to do it. And so finally I asked myself that question, how can I let this be easy? And I finally was like, I'm going to ask this group I'm in. I'm going to ask one time in this group who wants to be on my show. And bam, plenty of guests just like that with one question asked. And it was like, yeah, I have plenty of amazing people that I want to individually ask, and I will do that after summer break. I will do it later. It is still on the list. I have lots of ambitious people I want to ask to be on my show. But for right now, I'm going to let it be easy. And there are so many ways in podcasting where it could be not editing so much. It could be baking your introduction into the rest of your episode so you have nothing to edit. Where instead of having a separate piece for all the pieces where you're just like, welcome to my show, and here's my show, and here's my ad, and here's my conclusion. It's all in one piece. I have nothing to edit. Upload. Done. That's one way to let it be easy. You could record your show while you're on a walk. You could record your show while you're in the car. Like, there's so many ways to let podcasting be easy that a lot of people are so stuck in that mindset of perfectionism that they don't want to do that. So how can you let go of perfectionism and let it be easy? And a lot of people are so afraid of showing up messy. I'm telling you, it doesn't come off as messy as you think it is. It comes off as real. It doesn't come off as messy and sloppy as you think. It comes off as you're a human being. It comes off as authentic. It comes off as you are giving other people permission to be themselves, to have real lives just like you do.
Are you saying we're not perfect? Or maybe we are perfect, but we don't think we are?
What is perfect, though? Perfect is really just you trying to be like other people who are also not perfect. Perfect is you trying to live up to other people's expectations that they too are not living up to. Perfect is a word that has no meaning. What does that word mean? Because nobody's living up to it and there is no definition.
Everybody has their own. Like, who are you comparing yourself to? There it goes back to, like, do you have to compare it to someone else, or the only person you have to compare is you?
Well, and
you just have.
If you're comparing yourself to somebody who you think is perfect, I guarantee you that person does not think that they are perfect.
Yeah, and then if you just come closer to them and start speaking with them, they will tell you all about it. They're not perfect. They may have put a perfect show on Facebook or something.
Well, and if you want to ask the peanut gallery, if you want to ask a poll, you're going to find lots of people who do not think that that person is perfect. Perfect is a meaningless word. It is just an unattainable standard that you're holding yourself to because you're afraid.
Yeah, that's true. And isn't that why one of those things that people not living their dreams because they're afraid they're not going to be perfect, whatever that is, they don't even know.
There is no perfect. There is only improvement. And you can only improve if you show up ever. You have to start showing up as you are so that you can then build on whatever level you're at.
I always like to say, like, the kids they're not born to start running. They have to start walking first. And then if we don't start taking small steps to get where we want to be, we'll never get to the finish line. But the finish line is important, or the steps along the way, that's the most important to enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Well, because the finish line is arbitrary. And as soon as you hit that finish line, there's going to be another one.
And another one. And another one. And another one. And another one.
Yep.
You will never get to the finish line. And if you're happy with what you set your bar up and you reach there and then you don't set up the next bar and the next goal, you're just going to be bored and stagnant. You're just not going to grow as a person, as a leader of the community, as a person overall, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. We we're born to learn and to contribute and to inspire and empower, but then you don't know who needs your message. Like, you don't know who needed to hear the story that you just told, because if Karaleigh can do it, so does anybody else. There is no excuse. 3 kids with special needs, a husband that was physically ill, and she endured all that, and here we are, all behind on the other side of that challenge and inspiring other women and people overall that you can be the best version of you. You just need to look for the sunshine every day.
Well, and I do want to say that, like, life is always lifey, and like it's never like, lifey. Oh well, I conquered that challenge, on to the next. Like, my husband still has challenges. My kids are still my kids, and they are still who they are. And my son, who can now speak, he still has his challenges. He's still severely autistic. He has type 1 diabetes too. So like, he has type 1 diabetes, not type 2. Hopefully that made sense. You know what I mean? Like, the challenges don't end just because we can tell a story that makes it wrap up in a nice little bow, right? Like, stories are amazing and they help us learn lessons and see things. But life doesn't cease to be life. Like, we just keep learning and we keep growing. You just keep seeing, where you're trying to go, and you just keep putting one foot in front of the other to get there, and keep, seeking sunshine. Keep looking for the beauty in the moment that you're in, because there's always beauty. There's always sunshine wherever you're standing. And if all you could see is darkness, the reason you could see the darkness is because there's light from somewhere.
You just not open your eyes to see that, to find that light.
Yep.
For whatever reason.
And it's seeking sunshine because we're looking for the sunshine. We're yearning for it. We're on the hunt for the sunshine.
How do you ever know that you're on the right path? Is there such a thing?
That's a great question. You can feel it. You can feel it in your body and in your heart. And actually, that's true for everything. We run so fast in our lives. Like, we're so called by the world to just never stop and like to prove our worth with how much we can accomplish every day. It is so essential that we slow down and start understanding like how we feel. Because our bodies will tell us. Like, we will be able to feel that. If you can't tell if you're on the right path, slow down. Like, start listening for that whisper of inspiration, for that spark, because it's inside you. It's in your body. It's like, you will know. If you slow down enough, you will know. But we are so called and so pulled in every direction to just hustle and prove your worth constantly. That's not where your worth comes from. Your worth is not in money. Your worth is not in productivity. Your worth just is. It's just inherent. Like, you just are amazing.
We're amazing. We just need to remember that. And just kind of always wonder. And if you look for things that why you're amazing, you'll find them. Because we all have that uniqueness, that superpower, whatever that might be. You just emphasize that, remind yourself, and be grateful for all we have.
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself grounding? When do you know to take a break? What do you do? I know you have 3 kids, and that's maybe challenging.
Yeah. I can feel the constriction in my body, and I know I need to take a break when I start feeling that. I have a dedicated meditation practice, and I do meditate twice a day, every morning and every afternoon right before my son gets home off the bus. I'm like, oh, I better prep for that one. Because he gets very loud, very, very loud, and it's very overwhelming. But I can feel that constriction, and it's like, oh, time for a step back, time for a walk, time for a break. needing some mental clarity. I also really love music, obviously. I use songwriting to process my emotions a lot of times. My whole Seeking Sunshine album was like processing a decade's worth of trauma. Like I wrote a song, it's a love song to apathy, which was all about like, it's like, dear apathy, are you in love with me? And it was all about like my kids taking my stuff and breaking it, and like I can't get mad at them because they don't understand, and how much it like was like I made that and poured my heart and soul into it, and you just broke it like it didn't matter. And it was like, when you're a mom and you're just like, oh, just give you everything and you smash it to pieces. Like that's kind of a lot of what motherhood feels like sometimes. And it's like you can't take it out on them because they're innocent kids, and so I wrote a love song to apathy because at the moment that was what was helping me cope. It was like, I'm just going to shove that emotion right on down. But I've got a lot of songs in that album that were helping me process what I was going through when I was writing it. Like I have a song called Evergreen, which was about how mothers are always on. We never get to be off, like the evergreen tree is always on. It doesn't get to rest over the winter. It's just always on. And the chorus is like, I need sleep, but that doesn't happen. I get to be up all night making sure everyone is safe and like an evergreen. But also because I love you, I'm choosing that. But also it would be nice to sleep. And I use music to process a lot of things. And I find that creativity is really, really therapeutic. And I use lots of creative outlets like painting and sewing and creation of all sorts of, methods to process different things I'm feeling. And I find that my husband also loves to create to process his emotions. And I hope that everybody has some sort of creative outlet to work through whatever is going on in your life because it's really helpful.
All right. Well, and how would you sum up our conversation? That was amazing. Lots of lessons that we can take it with us and realize that there's always that other side, and don't get so hung up on what's happening. If it's something bad happening in that moment, once you get through it, there will be that sunshine. You just have to see that clear vision and be determined that no matter what you want to do and you set your mind to, you can accomplish by just being you and having a plan, of course, taking steps every day. Celebrate yourself and give yourself grace. How would you summarize our conversation?
One of my favorite songs that I put on my album is called Wait. And the chorus goes, but wait, maybe it's not too late to change your mind or change the world. And wait, maybe it doesn't have to look the way they said it did. Don't give up just yet. Wait. And I wrote that song really about like my whole music journey and about how everything I always wanted and how it wasn't working out. And I just really wanted it to, but it was still ahead of me. And to not give up just yet and wait. But it turned out that song was for so many more people than just me. And like it really helped my husband through some of his really dark times. And so it's like there's another chapter ahead for you, and it is filled with miracles and everything that you are wanting and dreaming of. Like it is still ahead for you. Don't give up on it yet. Just wait.
Just wait. And it will be there for you. I love it. Couldn't say it any better. What a wonderful way to end our amazing conversation. How does people can connect with you, Karaleigh?
My website is karaleiggarrison.com. I've also got my Instagram is at karaleigh.garrison, and on Facebook I'm Karaleigh Garrison. And my podcast is Seeking Sunshine, and my album is Seeking Sunshine. It's all over.
And if you want to learn how to do it messy and don't worry about judging yourself and compare to others, follow with Karaleigh. Let's support Karaleigh. And she is amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Whoa, Karalegh's story is so touching and inspirational. She reminded me of what brought us together as friends in the first place. I'm truly proud of her for her resilience and determination, and for her showing others how these traits are key to overcoming challenges and achieving success. She reminds us that self-love and taking care of oneself are essential for personal growth and being able to support others. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section and invite you to please like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel. Until next time, see you!